Most people spend decades trying to build a better life. They work harder, study more, read another book, listen to another podcast, start another business, set another goal, lose another 10 kilograms, earn another promotion. And yet, many still feel overwhelmed, anxious, reactive, or stuck. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack motivation, but because they have overlooked one fundamental truth. You cannot consistently create a better life than the mind that is creating it. Every decision you make, every opportunity you recognize, every relationship you build, every challenge you overcome, every goal you pursue is filtered through your mind. If your mind is reactive, your life becomes reactive. If your thinking is fearful, your decisions become fearful. If your nervous system constantly lives in survival mode, you will continually struggle to access the very best version of yourself. This is why I believe one of the greatest investments we can ever make is learning how to become mind strong. Today, I want to introduce you to what mind strong really means, why it matters, and how it could completely change the way you experience your life. One of the biggest misconceptions people have is believing that they are not training their mind. The reality is your mind is being trained every single day. Every repeated thought, every emotional reaction, every habit, every belief, every behavior, every stressful conversation, every moment of avoidance, every hour spent scrolling, every negative story you tell yourself is reinforcing neural pathways inside your brain. Whether you realize it or not, your brain is continually learning. The question isn't whether you're training your mind, the question is, what are you training it to become? Are you training it to become calmer or more anxious, more resilient or more fragile, more intentional or more reactive? Because repetition creates wiring, and wiring creates behavior, and eventually behavior becomes identity. This is why simply knowing what to do really changes anything. Knowledge doesn't create transformation, training does. So most people think life is about overcoming external obstacles. A difficult boss, a challenging marriage, money problems, health problems, a changing economy. Those things are real, but over many years of studying psychology, neuroscience, and human behavior, I'm convinced that our greatest obstacle isn't outside us, it's inside us. It's what I call the conditioned mind. The conditioned mind is a collection of beliefs, emotional reactions, thoughts, assumptions, habits, fears, protective behaviors, and unconscious patterns you've accumulated throughout your life. Most of them develop for good reasons. They helped you survive difficult situations, but survival isn't the same thing as thriving. Your conditioned mind prefers certainty, comfort, familiarity, predictability, but growth requires something very different. Growth requires uncertainty, challenge, discomfort, and learning. And that's why so many people feel stuck. Not because they don't know enough, but because the conditioned mind continually pulls them back towards what feels familiar. Mindstrong is about gradually freeing ourselves from those unconscious patterns, not by fighting ourselves, but by becoming aware of them, because awareness creates choice and choice creates freedom. Earlier I said that a legend life begins with a strong mind. But what does that actually mean? So most people assume the answer is becoming mentally tougher. Push harder, work longer, ignore your emotions, keep grinding. Unfortunately, that's also one of the fastest ways to burn yourself out. Mental strength isn't about becoming harder, it's about becoming more capable. Think about what happens when something stressful occurs. Someone criticizes you, an important client cancels, Your child gets into trouble, you receive bad news. You suddenly feel anxious before giving a presentation, or these events don't create your reaction. They trigger patterns that already exist inside your brain. Within milliseconds, your nervous system scans for danger. Your brain compares what's happening now with thousands of previous experiences stored in your memory. Without you even thinking about it, your conditioned mind predicts what this situation means and begins preparing your body to respond. Your heart rate changes, your breathing changes, stress hormones are released, your attention narrows, your emotions rise, your thinking becomes less flexible. Before you've consciously decided anything, your biology has already started making decisions for you. This is why so many people say things like, I don't know why I reacted like that. I knew what I should have done, but I couldn't stop myself. I keep repeating the same patterns. The problem isn't that you're weak. The problem is you're operating on autopilot. This is exactly what Mindstrong is designed to change. Mindstrong is a deliberate practice of strengthening the systems that determine how you think, feel, and respond. Rather than allowing your conditioned mind to run your life, you gradually train yourself to respond from your wise self. Instead of becoming controlled by circumstances, you become capable of choosing your response. That doesn't happen through motivation, it happens through training. At Legend Life, we build a capacity through 5 interconnected areas. First, we develop self-regulation. So everything begins here. If your nervous system is dysregulated, your thinking brain cannot perform at its best. When you're overwhelmed, your ability to think clearly, solve problems, communicate effectively, and make good decisions all decline. That's why we teach practical regulation skills like controlled breathing, grounding, emotional awareness, and nervous system recovery. Our goal isn't simply to reduce stress, it's to expand what psychologists call your window of tolerance, your capacity to remain calm, clear, and effective when life becomes challenging. Second, we build mental fitness. Most people understand the concept of physical fitness. Very few think about mental fitness. Yet your mind can be trained in exactly the same way your body can. Every day you either strengthen or weaken qualities such as resilience, focus, confidence, optimism, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, courage, self-compassion, and psychological flexibility. These aren't personality traits, they're trainable capacities. Just as repeated exercises change your body, repeated psychological practice changes your brain. Third, we develop whole self intelligence. Most of us spend much of our lives being controlled by what we call the conditioned mind. We use an acronym, I beat FM, to represent each of the elements that make up our conditioned mind. So I is for identity, B for beliefs, E for emotions, A for attitude, thoughts are T, fears are F, and M is mindset. So these are automatic reactions that all combine to create predictable behavioral patterns. Whole self-intelligence teaches you to recognize those patterns instead of becoming trapped inside of them. You learn to observe your thoughts, your emotions, rather than automatically believing them. You learn to separate facts from stories. You learn to recognize emotional triggers before they become behaviors. And over time, you increasingly respond your authentic, values-driven, wise self rather than your conditioned patterns. Fourthly, we deliberately retrain the brain. Every time you interrupt an automatic reaction, pause, regulate yourself, choose a different response, and repeat that new behavior, your brain begins building new neural pathways. This is called neuroplasticity. Old patterns gradually weaken, new patterns gradually strengthen. The more often you consciously choose a response that serves your future rather than your past, the easier that response becomes. Eventually, what once required conscious effort becomes your new default. Finally, we pursue continual growth. Mindstrong isn't something you achieve once, it's something you practice for life. Every difficult conversation becomes training. Every setback becomes feedback. Every stressful situation becomes an opportunity to strengthen the mind you'll need for tomorrow's challenges. That's why we say the goal isn't simply to survive life, it's becoming increasingly capable of living it. So if you wanted to summarize this journey using a language of Legend Life, we can describe it through 4 progressive foundations. We begin by building a stable inner foundation, a stronghold of the mind, from which clarity, emotional regulation, and psychological safety emerge. From that foundation, we develop resilience, learning to remain steady when life becomes difficult. Next comes self-mastery, where our values become consistent behaviors rather than good intentions. And finally, we pursue lifelong excellence, not perfection, but the continual realization of our potential. That's what becoming Mindstrong really means. Not becoming emotionally harder, not becoming fearless, becoming someone who's developed the capacity to think clearly, regulate themselves effectively, respond wisely, and continue moving forward regardless of what life places in front of them. Well, I never want these videos simply to inspire you. I want them to change how you live. So I'd like to invite you to do something today. Take 5 minutes, choose one situation that regularly triggers you. Maybe it's work, maybe it's your partner, maybe it's your children, maybe it's a criticism, maybe it's procrastination. Now ask yourself 3 questions. What normally happens? What do you automatically think? And how do you normally react? Then ask yourself one final question. Is this response coming from my conditioned mind or from the person I want to become? That's all. So let's repeat this just to make sure you've got that. So I want you to take 5 minutes and ask these 3 questions. What normally happens in this triggering situation? What do you automatically think? And how do you normally react? And then the final question, is this response coming from your conditioned mind or from the person you want to become? So don't try to change anything yet. Simply notice it, because every act of self-mastery begins with awareness. So tomorrow, when that same triggering situation appears again, pause, take one slow breath, interrupt the automatic pattern. So this pause may only last 5 seconds, but those 5 seconds are what transformation begins, or are where transformation begins. Over the coming weeks, we're going much deeper. I'll be teaching you how to regulate your nervous system, develop emotional resilience, strengthen your mental fitness, overcome automatic stress patterns, build what I call whole self-intelligence, and ultimately become someone capable of remaining calm, focused, and intentional, regardless of what life throws at you. Because becoming Mindstrong isn't about becoming perfect. It isn't about eliminating stress. It isn't about never feeling fear. It's about developing the mind capable of living the life you truly want. If that resonates with you, I'd encourage you to join us. So head over to the legendlifeafter40.com website, take the Legend Life pledge and become a Legend Life Quester. You'll receive our free resources, invitation to our monthly Legend Life assemblies, our monthly Mindstrong lab, and become part of a growing community of people who are committed to living with greater purpose, resilience, and intention. So you'll find the link in the description below. And if you found this video valuable, subscribe to the channel, because next time we're going to explore the foundation of becoming Mindstrong, neurocalm. Why learning to regulate your nervous system may be the single most important skill for thriving in the modern world. Until then, live deliberately, stay curious, continue your quest, and remember, a legend life begins with a mind-strong mind.